So let's get into running back. Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne, Cam Carroll, and Trayon Webb are your four. Although I think the first three that we named are going to get a bulk of those. Trevor Etienne, the guy that's made a couple watch lists, a guy that it seems like the media is very hype on, makes third team All SEC. Montrell Johnson not getting the love that we thought. Is that a name recognition thing? Is that just what is it? Because I think Montrell Johnson's your best running back.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked that, like, just maybe even like to myself, just sitting in a room like a crazy person, being like, "What about
padded
Montrell?"
room, yeah.
They just can't get too much Gator love out there, so they just pick one.
Yeah, well, I mean, like to me, they're kind of interchangeable. They're definitely different running backs, but I feel like they're going to carry the ball in terms of just number of carries similar. I don't think one is head and shoulders better, and like Montreal got no love, no preseason love, and Etienne got a little bit. But to me, that's 1-2. It doesn't matter who starts, who gets the first carry. I think those guys are going to be, the engine that makes Florida's offense go this year.
Yeah, I don't even have a favorite out of the two. I like both of those guys. They just both very good running backs, both patient guys that'll wait for things to develop. They're pro backs. And I don't know how anybody could leave Montrell off of any running back watch list. He's gonna be the real deal. So I don't care about the watch list a lot. I think it's a little bit of give him some give Montrell some added motivation. I like that. Give him some slight something to be mad at this season and run angry. For when we get to Utah, he can unleash this thing like he did last year. But I think I view those guys just as valuable. It's just 1A, 1B. Just pick your medicine, pick your poison.
And I think you saw that last year, right? The top three running backs for the Gators last year were Montrell Johnson, 11.92 attempts per game at 64.69 yards per game. Trevor Etienne had just a hair over 9 rushes a game, and then Naquan Wright, who transferred, was getting about 6.7 carries per game. Obviously, you drop off Naquan Wright, you add in Cam Carroll. Anthony Richardson was averaging about 8.5 rushes per game last year as well. So obviously, we don't expect Graham Mertz to run the ball certainly as frequently, but of Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne, and Cam Carroll, who do you think the order goes to for most attempts, most yards, most touchdowns? Like, kind of what are your thoughts, or do you just think it's truly going to be a 1A, 1B with Cam Carroll being probably a closer 2 than we thought?
Yeah, I think it's 1A, 1B. Like, I don't think you won't have more than 20 carries separate, in my opinion.
On the season?
Separate, yeah, on the season. Okay. Separate, unless there's like an injury or something, you won't have, a big separation between Etienne and Johnson. In my opinion, Cam Carroll's been the best pass catcher. I've been really impressed with how he runs. He runs hard, tough guy to bring down. Made me eat my words. I thought he was crazy for coming to indoor running back room with those two guys. Saw him maybe twice and was like, okay, never mind. I get it. I get it. He's great. And Trayon Webb has flashed, but like, you're just a young buck in a really, deep, talented room. So I think Florida's running back, you're fortunate to have this group of 4 guys. And even if somebody were to go down, I don't think you really lose a step from Johnson to Etienne to Carroll. And I think Trayon Webb will continue getting better and continue to try to work into that group.
Yeah, going back here, you mentioned pass catching. I'm just going to pull up some stats from last year. We saw,
they were not involved.
Yeah, Etienne had 9 catches for 66 yards. Montrell Johnson, 12 catches for 58 yards. Lorenzo Lingard, 2 catches for 22 yards. And Naquan Wright, 1 catch for 14 yards. Obviously, not a big part of that offense last year. What did I say? 12. So you maybe had 8% of your catches last year from running backs. Do you see that being a little bit more based on what you've seen and some of the involvement of the running backs in that passing game? And maybe what some of Graham Mertz tooling is to include them and obviously the skill set that they have, and maybe some of the shortfalls that the Gators have at the wide receiver position as they continue to develop players.
Yeah, I think that should be something too, especially that you don't have the kind of athlete that you had last year. Like, you're not going to get the 90-yard, 80-yard touchdown run from your quarterback. Use your running back as an extension of the passing game. I think Etienne and Montrell are getting better in terms of pass catching, but I think you need to get those guys involved more, especially when you look at what you've lost at receiver and what you have coming back.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Anything else on running back? I mean, I think that's a position group that we've been very high on for the entire offseason. It seems like they've come into practice as good as advertised, in Cam Carroll's situation, probably better than advertised, right? Tryon Webb, I know that you said is doing well too. A guy, 4-star guy, recruited very heavily for Florida, was wanted by Jawan Sider and wanted by the folks up at Penn State who recruit the position really well. Came in not as many flowers as maybe some other running backs in that recruiting class might have gotten, but has come in as impressed thus far. But I don't think that there's much, more that you could want, out of this. You have the mix of size and speed and kind of the breakaway speed as well as the vision. They all seem to have great vision and be able to get to that open hole and attack. So I think that the position group that we've been one of the most excited about all season, or all off season, has been the running back room. And it seems like they are doing well. Obviously, without the same running threat that you had with Anthony Richardson, there's a different kind of focus on you as the running back, but still, I think that this is going to be a group that has even better year than last year. And I'm very, very excited. I think that that's what's going to make this offense hum this year.
Like it when it hums, man. Real quick, what do you guys think about the quarterback running with AR going? I still think we do some running. Of course, it's not going to be a 6'4", 250-pound guy making guys miss. We all wanted more running out of AR last year. I thought he could have been way more productive with his running. But I think Graham Mertz is definitely a capable runner. He can get busy a little bit with his legs. What do you guys think about running from the quarterback position this year?
Well, when I said that, I just meant like you don't have that dynamic runner.
Right,
like,
right.
Like Anthony Richardson won the Utah game last year. And Amari Burney. Shout out to Amari. But like you're not gonna have Graham Mertz isn't liable to go for 70 yards on any given play like Anthony was. But I still think you can add in some of the quarterback run option kind of stuff. But you just don't have that same kind of big play waiting to happen, home run waiting to happen in Graham Mertz running.
Right. Yeah, I think the quarterback position still gets active with the running. What you got, Dan?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think Graham Mertz, and I've said it for a while now, and I think you're seeing a little bit more, is not, a Peyton Manning. You mentioned it earlier, Nick. He's not Peyton Manning. He's not just a guy that's just going to sit there and be this blundering guy that falls over his feet if he tries to run the ball past the line of scrimmage, right? I think he's got some speed. I think he's an athletic player. I think that we saw that in high school. You saw it sometimes in college. It depends on, probably what that position group looks like at the backup quarterback role. But at some point in time, you have to will that team. And if that means trying to break off a 7-yard run for a first down, you have to be able to keep that tool in your toolbox and be able to use it. And I think that Graham Mertz is both faster and more athletic than the statue that people have compared him to. I mean, it seems to me like this entire offseason, now all of a sudden people are like, oh, like, he's not a statue. Is that like Graham Mertz was like collapsing in quicksand? Like all of those quicksand comments that we used to talk about, like in like 4th grade, and you'd be like, what to worry about quicksand when you're an adult, right? Like, I think that that's like what a lot of people assume that Graham Mertz did every time he stepped in the pocket. And I just don't think that that's the case. He's certainly not going to be as athletic as Anthony Richardson. In fact, no quarterback in history has ever been as athletic as Anthony Richardson was, right? But I don't think he's a statue. And I do think, he can make plays, with his feet, and I'm looking forward to seeing him prove all the haters and losers wrong, as our former president would say.
Where we at with we still at misdemeanor Mertz, or we sliding back to possibly a homicide or a murder?
Ooh, all right. I think we're still at misdemeanor. We got to see it, right? Okay. But now it's not just like a petty theft, There's a little bit more to it, you know.
He's not jaywalking now.
Yeah, it's not just jaywalking. You know, it's not a
criminal.
It's not a driver's license that won't expire, or a tag that won't expired. You know,
right?
He was loitering, then he was jaywalking,
trespassing.
Trespassing.
Citation. We was going towards citation, Mertz, but
conspiracy.
Yeah,
that's